Don't know what to bring to dinner? Want an impressive, tasty and simple dessert all without turning on the oven? Well, this Oreo cheesecake is for you. So let's begin with this delicious crust. So I like to start this about at least 6 hours before, maybe the day before, night before I want to serve this, because it does need to sit in the fridge. But basically we're just going to dive right in. You need about 25 Oreos, just chopped up, smashed in a Snaplock bag, or I like to just chuck them in my trusty little food processor. So I put about 25 cookies in, about 60 grams of melted butter, and I just like to mix this until you get about a wet sand consistency, and this is going to form the base. So I'm just going to start opening these up and chucking these in. And yeah, I'm going to try and count these and not eat too many of them. Alright, so I've got about 26, 27 in my food processor. I'm just going to blitz these really quickly, just until they get a bit finer before I add my butter. And also just a quick side note, for the filling, which I'm about to do next, I like to take my cream cheese out prior, just to let it warm up a bit to room temperature. This means it'll mix much more easily than bringing it straight out of the fridge. Alright, so it's blitzed up a little bit now. I'm just going to add my butter before processing it a bit more until it ends up like a wet sand mixture. Alright, so we've achieved this nice wet sand consistency. And now I'm going to grab my springform pan, and you just want to cut a circle of baking paper onto the bottom so that the cheesecake doesn't get stuck. And as you can see, I botched up doing a circle a couple of times, gave up and just cut it. So it doesn't matter what it looks like, no one's going to see it. So yeah, I'm just going to take this straight out, and I'm going to dump it straight in. Alright, and once we have poured this wet sand like Oreo and butter mixture in together, you then want to press it down with a cup, a glass jar, or in this case I'm going to use a clean candle, just because it's got a nice flat base. And you just want to lightly tap, just nice and gently onto the base, just spread it around a bit with some clean hands, and then tap it and slowly push it to the sides. And you can make the crust as thin or thick as you like. You can just have it on the bottom. I like to build it up a little bit on the sides, as you can see here. And this smells amazing. The butter and processed Oreos smell incredible. So yeah, so all done. As you can see, we've spread it out nicely on the base. You just want a nice kind of even consistency on the base. And then I'm just going to pop this in the fridge for a few minutes while we move on to the filling. Okay, so we've moved on from the food processor, and now I've got my stand mixer. And don't worry, if you don't have a stand mixer, you can just use a handheld mixer. You could beat it yourself, but I would not do that. So we want to start by whipping up this cream cheese. So as I said, I like to leave it out a little bit earlier just so it gets to room temperature. It just mixes so much easier. Alright, so I'll pop my cream cheese in. I'm just going to put this down now and just mix it on a moderate setting just until it's kind of nice and fluffy and aerated well. You want to start with putting 500 grams of cream cheese into your stand mixer just with a normal attachment, or into a bowl to beat with some handheld beaters. Once this is now nicely all mixed in and fluffy, I've got about 2/3 cup of sugar. I find that is a great level of sweetness. You can add a bit less if you don't want your cheesecake as sweet. If you want a little bit sweeter, add a cup, up to you. I like 2/3 of a cup. So I'm just going to add this straight in, and again, just mix it until it's well combined. From there, I'm going to pop in my vanilla extract. So I like to put about 2 teaspoons, I don't really measure, I just drop a little bit in just to add a little bit of flavour. And while you're adding that, you can put in your cream. So I like to put in about 1 cup or about 240 mils of thickened cream. So this can just go straight in, and again, you just want to beat this for a couple of minutes quite thoroughly so that you get a nice, thick and fluffy cheesecake. I also like to add about 1/4 of a cup of sour cream. The sour cream just balances the flavour really nicely as well, and it helps to thicken a little bit up too. Alright, and from here you can give it a little taste, and I find I really like to add a squeeze of lemon. So the amount is up to you and it's your choice, but I find the lemon really helps to balance out the flavor. So you don't want to really taste the lemon, but the lemon cuts through the sweetness and it adds a really, really nice flavor that you wouldn't pick that it's lemon, but it just balances everything out, and I really recommend you trying it. You don't need too much, just a little bit of a squeeze in there, and it just really helps build that flavor. And once you've got your taste of your mixture down well, you can chop up some more Oreos. I like to use about 150 grams or 15 Oreos that are chopped, and I chop them to different sizes. So some fine, some thick chops. Just give a little mix in your stand mixer or with your handheld beaters, and then we are done and ready to put it into our dish. Alright, so my cheesecake mixture is looking perfect. I've mixed in the Oreo cookies that I've chopped up. It's looking fantastic. I've just taken the crust out of the fridge, so it's all nice and hardened a little bit now. I'm just going to evenly distribute this across, and don't worry too much about how the top looks. You're not going to get it perfectly flat, but I like to make a white chocolate ganache to put on top with a nice dark chocolate swirl, but I'll show you all that tomorrow. Alright, so it's all in now and nicely smoothed out, and I'm going to pop this in the fridge for at least 6 hours. I'm going to do it overnight, but 6 hours is fine, completely up to you. And then, as I said, we'll get onto the white chocolate ganache and make this thing look amazing. Alright, so it's the next morning, the cheesecake is set. I'm just going to grab it out of the fridge. And here we go, looking amazing, nicely set of course. And now we're going to move on to the marbling of the top. So we're going to make a white chocolate ganache. I'm going to use about half a block of white chocolate. I've got a double boiler set up behind me, so I've got a small saucepan with a little bit of water just boiling gently, and a medium-sized glass bowl on top. So I'm going to use, this is 180 grams, so I'm going to use about 90 grams, about half of this. I'm going to break it up in there, melt it, put some cream in, and then I'm going to put it on top of the cheesecake. I've also got a little bit of melted dark chocolate here. So this is just about like 40 or 50 grams. Just, you don't need much, it's just to add a little bit of interest and marbling onto the top. So this chocolate's now just going to melt nice and slowly over the double boiler just here. You can melt this in the microwave if you want, but I find that white chocolate is easier if you just melt it nice and slowly over some gently boiling water. In the microwave you can kind of overdo it a bit, you've got to be careful and got to mix it a lot. So you can see it's melting really nicely now. It's almost completely melted. I'm just going to gently stir and mix this around until it's all nice and runny. And then I'm going to go about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of heavy cream or thickened cream and pour this in. I'm just going to mix this around gently until it forms a nice runny consistency. And this is basically just my white chocolate ganache. And once this is all nicely combined, I'm going to pour this gently over the top of the cheesecake and just flatten it out evenly. Alright, so this is all now nicely combined and mixed, and I'm just going to pour this gently over the top of the cheesecake. Remember as well that you want to have your little bit of dark chocolate ready to go as well, but I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, so now I've nice and evenly spread out my white chocolate ganache over the top of the cheesecake. Now don't worry if you can still see bits of the Oreos and the cheesecake through this thin layer. I'm going to show you now how to decorate it and make it look a little bit better. So as I said, I've got some melted dark chocolate here, and you need to find something like a skewer, anything sharp that you can find. For me, that was a cocktail umbrella. So what you want to do is grab a spoonful of this and just start dropping it around the cake, because you then want to come along with the skewer and just do light swirls gently around, going through the dark chocolate into the white chocolate. And remember, in this point here, less is more. Do not overdo this, otherwise it'll just turn into a grey browny mess. You just want to do a few light swirls just to create a little bit of interest in here. Alright, now that's all done. We've got a nice marbling effect over the top of the cake, and it's looking really good. So from here, I just want to pop it back in the fridge again for a little while, and then we're going to decorate the side with some mini Oreos. So I'm just going to go around and stick these all around the outside, but I just want to take the outside off to do that so I can get them all nicely prepared. But to do that, I just want to make sure that this is set properly. So again, I'm just going to keep it in the fridge for probably about half an hour to an hour, and that chocolate ganache will just harden up and be good to go again. Alright, so I've taken this out of the fridge. It's been for about half an hour. It's nicely set. And I've taken the springform just casing off, and we're left with this. And I've just put it on just a swirling glass plate just to finish decorating it on. So as you can see, the top looks great. Around the edges it looks a little bit messy, but to fix that I like to get some mini Oreos, as you can see here. Or you could use, if you can't find any mini Oreos, you could just use some normal Oreos and just chop them in half and put them on. But I like to surround these around the outside, and it just makes it look really cool and really finishes off the look. You know, if you really wanted to, you could get some whipped cream and whip it and pipe it all around the outside, but I feel like it just looks good with this. Here by mistake I accidentally got some original end chocolate filled Oreos. I'm just going to alternate when I go around. So I'm just going to start placing these. Chocolate one, just going to lightly push it in, then a original chocolate, and as you can see it creates a really cool looking border for the cake. Alright, so this is it, we're done. I finished placing the Oreos alternatively all the way around the cake, and I'm really happy with it. We've got this really nice marbling over the top with the white chocolate ganache and this dark chocolate swirls, and then the mini Oreos all the way around the outside. I just cannot wait to try this tonight. I can just not wait to try this tonight. I'm taking this to my to a family dinner tonight, and everyone always requests that I make it, so I am very excited. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoy this video, and I hope you like this cake and give it a go. It's really easy, it's nice, no bake, no gelatin, very, very easy. You have to prepare a little bit in advance to make sure it's set in the fridge, but as you can see, it sets really well. And yeah, and if you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.